What's up, everyone? Welcome to the next lesson. We go into Entourage. We go into placing people, into selecting them. And I know it might be a post-production skill, it used to be, but right now we need to take care of those in the 3D scene. So without any time to waste, let's get at it. First of all, Entourage is like a way to do many things at once. We can glue the scene together, we can enhance the details, we can introduce the storytelling, improve the color palette. There's so much you can do with it, both that are good and bad, unfortunately. And I think we don't even need to convince you it's pretty damn important. And when you look at an image like this, you might be overwhelmed. How to even approach it, you know? And okay, it's not super easy, but it's not as difficult as you may seem. So even though you might have 20, 30, 40 people in your images, it's actually about 5 to 10 top that matter. Those people that matter are just in the foreground. You can literally put a scatter for the people in the background and 99% of cases it will be enough. Anyway, foreground makes the biggest impact. The human eye will always gravitate towards humans' faces, so the foreground, with those faces being the largest, will be our main focus. And it's not about making every person perfect, but about making the foreground as good as possible, dedicating the most time to it. So the way to start is relatively easy. First, you can analyze what kind of activities can be done in the foreground. What kind of architectural elements do you have? If a bench is very close to the frame, it naturally suggests that someone could sit on it. If there's a car, maybe someone is getting out of the car, maybe doing something around it. The stairs, sidewalk, and other functional elements, they are a good starting point as well. So you select the area and the activity as close to the camera as possible and place some people there. And we will talk about their selection and typical mistakes like low-level mistakes, but let's talk about positioning first. So when you place those first characters, you can think how to use the remaining space, you know, and just put additional people there, just as we did the first batch. And another cool idea is that those people in the first and the second round should be static people. After you are done with it, you can add people in motion, just as we did here. This will help you utilize the visual space step by step, starting from the foreground. It's easier to do it sequentially, and just to bring this point home, let me give you another example, like literally the same process. So here we have a different set of people, but the workflow is the same. We try to place static people first, meaning those who are standing or sitting, not generally moving. We often group them, standing and talking to each other, or usually using the space. It's a bit more effort, but this will set the general vibe of the image. 1 or 2 additional rounds of static people until we feel it's enough, and then fill the empty space with dynamic people. Yeah, so that's a super high-level approach to placing people, but obviously there's much more to it, and let me break it down as well. So as we are putting people, it's pretty important to mix their number. Put them in various groups. It might seem obvious, but often it's not. You know, it looks ridiculous when you see it right now, but believe me, there's so many visualizations that people feel like, I don't know, they are standing and waiting in a queue, as if they are, I don't know, going to the club. So we want to create a sense of natural situation. This space typically is meant for bringing people together, for meetings and so on. So obviously we will have like 1 person here, a group here, 2, 3, 4 people. So just mix it up a little bit. Keep that in mind. Next up, big question, how many people should we put in? And that's a fair question. It's easy to see when there are too many people. It looks actually totally absurd. I doubt anyone would cram that many people in. But yeah, it raises the question, when is too much too much? And here you can say that our sweet spot in a commercial rendering is roughly this level of activity we have in between. When a client comes to us and says they want, for example, a busy environment, this is roughly the amount we consider to be just right. But if you want to have something more just to limit the number of people, for the very least, you should have some sort of safe space around people. Whenever you put people, they should be read as distinct individuals or groups functioning in that space rather than everything blending together. So yeah, give them some negative space, some breathing space. And the second tip that we can give you, that when you put people and you want to have a busy place, you stop up until you maintain visibility. The situation is perfect when you can actually see the bench and people using it. You can see the stairs and people using them. So even though we block certain things, we will still communicate clearly different aspects of this space. So that's when it comes to the upper limit, and it's much more easier when you want to go with just few people. And in general, I think you should discuss the entourage strategy with your clients beforehand or get to know them, what they like. But if you both decide to go with fewer people, you just need to keep in mind there's a different thinking here. It's not about the safe space anymore, even though sort of it is. But if we include fewer people, they will matter more. A single person will naturally draw more attention than just a group of people. It won't show the space activated, but we will go into a story more. We will naturally pay more attention to their expression, their race, whether they are in motion or not. And we will also pay attention to their relationship with the architecture. If we have fewer people, we might actually care more about the story rather than the building itself. It might work commercially or it can backfire badly. So you need to be especially careful about these people, how they look, what are they doing, how they are positioning, because it can be cheesy and it can complicate our composition. Okay, I think we are getting somewhere. We discussed how to place people, how to do it sequentially, and when to stop. Obviously, you can go and check how various artists do it, There's literally hundreds of great daytime scenarios images, so you can always get inspired by a thing or two. And now we want to give you some tips and a series of micro adjustments we make. So, you need to be careful about 4 different aspects when placing and selecting people. The first one being careful about tangents. It means that if someone is touching each other, and okay, maybe touching each other is an unfortunate name for it, but let me explain. People should have some sort of safe space to be readable. It shouldn't be that they are right next to each other and they shouldn't touch pixel to pixel level. This will create an annoying relationship. If we have a crowd, you cannot avoid it, but we should at least be aware of it, that sometimes it's better to have things overlap significantly or be separated by a few pixels, rather than almost touching pixel to pixel. Another thing is colors. We often insert people without even thinking about the colors, or we get some random variations from anima. On the level of individual people, it might even work somehow, but when we create a crowd and everyone is from a different color family, then we end up with a visual that's just all over the place. So it's good to keep that in mind, either at 3D stage or in post-production. Keep in mind to reduce those colors to fit the color palette, and we will do it in post-production lesson 2 lessons from now. Alright, we are slowly bringing this lesson home, just 2 ideas left. Next up, motion direction. You can see the comparison, and you can already guess which is suboptimal. The one on the left is more engaging, while the other one kind of pushes us away from the image, suggesting that more interesting things are happening outside the frame. If we were to draw arrows, where the green ones are more inviting, we can see that vast majority is engaged in the image. And here, vast majority are uninterested in what's happening in the image. It's like they are all looking at someone arguing outside the frame, All in all, not everyone needs to look at the architecture, but you can feel a nice balance on the left. And finally, which is arguably the most important one, the diversity. Depending on the market you work in, this can be more or less important. Obviously, the world that you're depicting must be credible to the place we are visualizing. Some places are not simply that diverse, but the two of us work on an American market, and we are very sensitive to it, to the point that when we have a visualization that looks cool, with great activity and everything is done right with details, no tangents and color palettes, all of that can be overshadowed because we are not having the right diversity. When we talk about this, we immediately think of racial aspects, but actually the first thing is the ratio of men versus women. The second thing is the ratio between the old and the young. And you don't need to include children, because most often than not, they just don't belong to the commercial spaces. But even combining 30 with 60-year-old introduces a certain age dynamic. Then there is the racial diversity, and that goes without saying, and cultural diversity. You obviously bring different people together, but it's not about the color of the skin. You can actually have a headscarf to show a Muslim woman. Many different ways to introduce this cultural diversity. Just keep that in mind. Additionally, we can include marginalized people or those with disabilities, and they add a sense of realism. Okay, so these are the tips. Each of those aspects can be analyzed separately. You can look at your final image and think I don't know, do those colors match? Or maybe there are too many white men. I don't know, maybe there's annoying tangents, Those are your tools, like your questions and your diagnostics, so you can check if your image is balanced or not. So that will be about it. In the next lesson, we talk about lighting. See you there.